God, it's amazing how quick. Like it's only been a week, but it feels like it's been like a month in a sense. All the news talking about Tau and now Monero XMR. I assume is what everybody wants to talk about. So let's get right into it. I had that call with Mark Jeffrey we did on Saturday the podcast. I thought that was great, and I'm guilty of being I have my blinders on in the THORChain ecosystem, right? I pay attention, tangentially to other cryptos, but to kind of get into like a new one type deal, that kind of telegraphed my attention. That's interesting, and it'd be super cool for us to have it on THORChain. If they, to be the first DEX, and it's a top 35 market cap, 33 market cap or something. Um, and if Mark Jeffrey, he's serious about wanting to sell his Bitcoin to buy Tau, but doesn't want to do it on a centralized exchange. I like to think there's others out there who want to do the same. So that'd be great. And maybe we can do some co-marketing with them or something like that. Um, but I think the bigger news is Monero. And like, I guess, is this real, Chad? Is this happening? Is this
Yeah, no,
like,
it's real. It's happening. Um, um, I knew it was real because when Boom created the PR, the merge request or the MR, like to me, it's in that moment, it's just code on a page, and like who knows if it actually functions or not, right? Like who knows? And so like one of the things I told him to do is to make sure he had simulation tests, and simulation tests is when you actually like it builds an actual daemon, and an actual THORChain and an actual this and an actual that, like locally. It creates a little local, like real THORChain network in a matter of speaking, except for not really using like real Bitcoin or real assets because it's all like local, right? And as long as that was passing, and you could do swaps, you could do, inbound swaps, outbound swaps to or from Monero. You could add liquidity, withdraw liquidity, like all that kind of basic functionality. As long as that works, like fundamentally works. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
and so once he said he got that working, because like when you first opened the PR, I was like, well, I'll just get. He hadn't worked on that part yet. I'm like, oh, just get that part working and let me know how that goes. That was kind of like for me my litmus test in a matter of speaking. And as soon as he came back to me and he said it worked, I'm like, oh well, okay. Apparently, it all really functions and works, like from what he's saying. So then I started looking into that code base, the PR that earlier this week. I think I don't know how many comments I put on. I must have put on. I took a crap
You wrote a
ton.
book. You wrote a book. Yes.
I wrote a book. I spent many hours like reading through that code base, and and a lot of it was just like some small things, and some of it was some big things. But like fundamentally, it works on a high level. It actually does function and work. There's some changes that need to be made. Like, for example, like the most significant change that I really want to see change is that one of the challenges with Monero being a privacy chain is that like you can't see any outbound transactions unless you are an owner of that private key, right? Or the vault or Asgard vault in our particular case. And we have 6 Asgard vaults. So, it's like 20 people or 20 nodes rather in one Asgard. So like what are the other, 80 people or 80 nodes, whatever. So like they were just like co-testing, which basically means just like, they told me it's good, so I guess it's good, right? Like, and that's like obviously not the strongest security posture you can take, and so you wouldn't know in that scenario if that vault had stolen Monero and just like sent it to their own private address. Like we wouldn't know it, right? And the network would be insolvent, and there would be no way for us to know that was the case until we do a churn, right? And then the churn, you would actually have to send the Monero to the new address, right? And that would be an inbound transaction. And as long as you publish what's called the view keys, which allows you to decipher inbound transactions in a sense, on a public kind of way, then you would actually, at that point, you would know that the money was still there. But between churns, you wouldn't know if the money was still there or not, right? So what we can do to fix this problem, which is that instead of having 6 vaults, we have 1 vault specifically for Monero. So instead of having 6 Asgard vaults, it's actually be 7. and the seventh is the one that's like the Monero one, and all the active validators are a part of that one Asgard vault. And the reason why we can do that is because it uses a different cryptography to sign, to keygen, to generate keys and generate signatures, called Frost. And that's like a much more efficient and faster kind of way of signing than what we currently use, which is GG20. So we can just create one Asgard vault with 100 plus validators in it that are just securing just the Monero. And then that would be used to secure the funds. And then of course the entire network would then, could independently verify, each individual validator could independently verify that all of the funds are where they should be, right?
So is Frost like EDDSA on Solana? Like it's a okay.
Frost, it can. Oh, sorry. Um, I'm not entirely sure. I think it is. Like, I think it can sign EDSA things as well as other things. I'm not like I said. Like I'm not a cryptographer. This is not my area of expertise. But
No, sorry, I meant not are the two technologies can they talk to each other? I meant more like if we have EDDSA for Solana and we have Frost for Monero. Like just
oh,
like that was the
so
problem getting Solana on THORChain is we had to redo our whole code base to be able to handle EDDSA. That took
right,
forever. Now we have to make THORChain be able to communicate with Frost, which
another
apparently
one. This is
another one,
a third type, so to
third
speak.
type. And
Yeah.
so which Boone got to work. Apparently is much easier than
Well, technically,
EDDSA.
Boone didn't get it to work. Technically, it was Luke Parker from Sarai who got that to work. That's the Rust code, right? Like that's the hardest part of this whole process. Really, is being able to do keygens and key signs with this certain kind of cryptography. And Luke, credit to him, he had for his Sarai project had open sourced this Rust implementation of this, and so we just had to create a kind of like a shim layer, like an API shim layer between the Bifrost and a little shim layer in the middle, and then the actual on the other side of the keygen and key signing, like a little API endpoint so they can like communicate between the 2 points. A little kind of game of telephone in some ways, I guess you could call it that, if you want to call it that. So we didn't write that, and neither did Boone. That was done by Luke, over there.
So I actually saw Luke on Twitter. He came back on. He's like, I haven't been on Twitter for a while. I've been offline. I just came back the other day. I'm assuming he came back on because people are pinging him about us and Monero and what Boone's doing. Is this something like how do I say this I'm trying to say this without offending anyone. Like I don't know. I honestly, I mean, I think I hold both Luke and Boone in high regard for the work they've done. But like Luke obviously got to a point where he got stuck, and then Boone took it to the next level, basically vibe coding, from what I understand. And nothing wrong with that. I think it actually is great. Somebody who isn't a classically trained dev to come at it because you come at it with new eyes, new
Yeah,
perspective, new way to think about it. I mean, that's exactly what it needed. Whereas if Luke is a classically trained dev, he's just kind of in his rut thinking one way, and he needed somebody to think differently. Is that kind of what happened? Is it like I'm sure Luke can use AI just like Boone was doing.
yeah. I don't
Um,
know. I don't
yeah,
know where Sarai is, or if at that ran into some sort of like blocker or hurdle or whatever. Like I have no information or context to that. I think what Boone had effectively done, at least in the way that I look at it, is that it's something that he really wants to see on THORChain as Monero. Like, he's really engaged in this particular feature. And he was aware that Sarai had built this kind of library to be able to do Frost signing, back and forth. And, he just took A and put B and vibe coded this, C in the middle. And, effectively, fundamentally, it worked on a high level. Right. And so I think I don't know what Sarai, what you're referring to when you say ran into some issue or bug or blocker.
Yeah, Shirai is not so Shirai is not active yet. That they've been It's been delayed by many years, right? I was told
But not to
anecdotally by
slight them.
some.
We're not slighting them.
No,
They
no, no,
Right.
no,
No,
they
no,
just
of course not.
absolutely not. This
yeah,
is, I
it's
mean,
just yeah,
Monero
yeah,
cross-chain swaps are extremely
yeah.
complicated. I'm not slighting them at all, but I did hear from someone that they're attempting to go live. I don't know if this is true. This is just someone who told me 1 to 3 months. I don't know if that's right. You know how timeframes are come in shipping code and things like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's just Sarai's not here yet. So, Boone took their
When
Rust
you
implementation and
when
smashed
you
it.
heard that,
But
Danny, is that recent? Like, are they is it
I
because
would
they
told me
saw
that 2 days ago.
maybe they saw what Boone did and now they're copying him and applying that to Sarai?
Well,
Probably
correct me if
not,
I'm.
to be honest.
Yeah, what it is. They took their implementation and smashed it with Thor node. Is my understanding. Is that correct, Chad? Basically, the
Yeah.
similarities you think.
So, so what I do recall, like Luke's been kind of in and out of the THORChain community for years, and he's been, and I recall a time, this is years ago, and this is part of Sarai's like kind of earlier history, where he was combing through the Thor node code base, and Luke, for whatever reasons, Luke is like a Rust. Seems like he's like a Rust fanatic, right? Like he just loves the programming language called Rust, and he doesn't like other languages for whatever reasons. I don't really know or care. But he just wanted to more or less re-implement Thornode in another language, line by line, right? Um, that seemed a little bit wacky from my perspective, but more power to you. Enjoy it, whatever. And so he was spent a lot of time like reading through the THORChain code base, and every once in a while finding some sort of bug or exploit, and responsibly revealing that to the developers for a bug bounty and whatnot. So I think in some ways, like THORChain actually like funded Sarai, in like kind of in this like semi-indirect kind of way, you know what I mean? And his action to create Sarai, he like found some bugs in Thornode and then like revealed them to us, and then and continued on his Sarai kind of pathway. I vaguely remember like in the like years ago that there was a stable coin like algo stablecoin idea that we were floating around. This was like a long time ago. This is many years ago, in 2022, I think. And I think he had taken that idea and was looking to do it on the Sarai side as well. I don't think that ever actually manifested, but that was like something he was talking about for a little while. But in any case, like, yeah, they're building with Sarai, and good luck to them. And it's always good to have more people in the space, more projects in the space to cover each other in a much more healthier ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope he gets it going because like, somebody might think, "Oh, it's competition, whatever, blah, blah," but like, if we're piggybacking off each other to make it work, like, and if there has to be 2 of us to make this exist, you know what I mean? It's like, it's better for us both to have it than for both of us not to have it.
Yeah,
So, yeah, and, like, the liquidity is on THORChain. Like, this is where the volume will be. So, like,
right.
it'd be kinda like Maya protocol where, be like a good backup in a way. Um
I kind of like how like this whole advancements of AI coding in the just in the last 6 months has really kind of reshaped kind of how we think about engineering as a whole, and like we probably wouldn't have spent the time to do something like a Monero or even a Tau in the past, even just because like the amount of energy it would have cost us, the amount of time and resources it would have cost us to produce a chain client for Tau, for example, would have been a lot more expensive. And now things can be vibe coded and just verified and all these things, and it's much lower hanging fruit today than it was even 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. And
Yeah, I
this is
think.
going to be great because we can start expanding. Like I want to see, one of my goals is I want to see um Tau and Monero like land more or less at the same time on mainnet. Like I want to get this place where we start landing multiple chains at once, or, in parallel more or less, and maybe get that done by like maybe May or a month later. Like have those both of those chains running in the next like 1 to 2 months.
Holy crap!
Wow.
Probably closer to 2, probably closer because we have to push that into 318. 318 is not gonna get released for another, I don't know, 6 weeks, something like this from now. So maybe closer to 2 months
Holy
probably,
shit!
but
But again, that would
that's what I'm
be
shooting for.
maybe manage everyone's expectations on my own. That would be, like, live on StageNet? Um, live on mainnet, okay.
We should have a line on StageNet or ChainNet in the next, I don't know, probably 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. Should have it live on StageNet.
And then assuming everything's fine on StageNet, ChainNet, okay, testing, everything's okay there, then we can go to mainnet. Mainnet, it'll start with a few grand in the pool, play with on a mainnet for a few weeks, slowly
Yep.
start increasing. Okay.
Yep. Right.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
that is incredible.